Hey there, Giant fans of fun. It's Thad, the theme park giant. It's August 20th, 2023, and I am at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey today. One of the main reasons is for the somewhat newish, I think 3 years ago, the Jersey Devil got put in. I'm really hoping it starts running soon. There are no trains on it, and this was the main reason I came, but they assured me it will open today. I've already got a few rides in. I've been to this park, I think 5 or 6 times. I used to have some friends that lived in Freehold, and then I did some coaster tours that came through here in the past. It is one of my favorite Six Flags parks. They have one of the best roller coaster collections out there. El Toro was always kind of their main draw. For a long time, that was my number one roller coaster. It's had some issues the last couple years. I'm kind of looking forward to riding it again, but I've heard it's pretty rough right now and may need some serious refurbishment, but fingers crossed, it's somewhat close to its old self. Already got a ride on Nitro, the I think 255-foot tall hyper coaster here at the park. It's running great. Got my ride on Batman. I'd never got that one before because I used to be too fat, but that's not an issue anymore. And I got Joker at the front of the park. We'll see all these as the day goes on, but come along, we're gonna have a giant day of fun. And you know, Six Flags doesn't always have the best reputation for some of their parks, but Great Adventure is one of the better, I think. It's got a great collection of rides. They actually maintain the park pretty well. They do landscaping, so it is one of my favorite of the Six Flags chain to come to. Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, and what better way to welcome you to New Jersey than some Bon Jovi blasting, yeah. Front entrance and ticketing area. In the front entrance you got Sylvester greeting people, the fountain, Joker in the background. Just a lot of action going on welcoming you into the park. So as I mentioned, the main draw for me was Jersey Devil. I think this opened in 2020 during the pandemic, so I kind of had a weird first year. This is one of RMC's single track rides. I've been on one down in San Antonio at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. It is a much smaller version that has been cloned a couple times. This was the first, I guess, custom install of this type of coaster. I'm interested to see how it rides because the other one is so much smaller, more compact. I thought it was great. I've heard this one, it's a little too sprawled out, so things are not as crisp and crazy as the smaller ones, but fingers crossed we get to ride it today. I don't see any trains on the track, which gives me a lot of indigestion because I don't want to miss out on another ride. Six Flags are not always known for doing theming very well, but some of the parks just do it better than others. I appreciate that Great Adventure does try, because when they put in the Jersey Devil coaster, there's a whole backstory to it. The Jersey Devil is, one of those folk stories in this area, lives in the forest. So they created this whole area. Welcome to Pine Barrens, home of the Jersey Devil. Pretty cool. I appreciate that they do this here, because you go to a lot of Six Flags and they don't make any attempt. And one of the more popular rides here is Nitro, as I mentioned in the opening. I think it's $255, I want to say. When it opened, it was one of the biggest rides in the world. I mean, it still is. B&M has made bigger rides than this, so it's not the biggest B&M anymore. But it is a really fun ride. I think it's a little overrated. I still think it's super fun, but people seem to really love Nitro. I think it's really good, but I think there's better out there. I did get a back row ride, and it was hauling. So I mean, it's fast. There's not a ton of airtime in the back. Got Nitro here, the front entrance with the sign, going up the lift hill. Batman over here to the right, because every Six Flags needs a Batman. And if you're unfamiliar with B&M Hyper coasters, the restraint can be fairly unforgiving for certain people. I used to have much bigger thighs, and I guess my butt, so it was very hard for me to get back in the seat. But try this out. There will be there's a line that comes out. This thing doesn't seem to be moving, but you should see like a yellow piece of tape usually, or like red, to know you're good. But always do this before waiting in line if you're worried, because the walk of shame is never fun. I've been there a million times. Jersey Devil taunting me from across the studios land here. And as I mentioned, almost every Six Flags has the same Batman ride, you know, the inverted clone that they put in every park. I can't even count, well, I'm sure I can count. I know I can count how many of these I've been on in my life, but it is a lot. We added another one today. I don't know if these have the modified seating, but for years they did not. Usually on the B&Ms, rows 4 and 5 will have a seat in each row for a little larger riders. It's typically 52 inches for your chest, or around your waist is kind of a cutoff for that. Always use the test seat. There is one right inside of the Gotham City Park entrance here, so make sure you use that. Also, one nice thing here, a lot of the Gotham City Park areas, Six Flags seems to like let get run down, and almost on purpose, I think, just so they can say, oh yeah, you know, we need Batman here basically. But this one's actually super clean. They take care of it, and it just looks so much nicer. I wish more parks would take care of their stuff. Sadly, very few Six Flags maintain things very well. It's just kind of the trade-off you get. Big rides, not always the greatest other amenities. Back here's the test seat I was talking about. And they even have a sign. Over 52 inches. And I say this a lot, but it's not just your chest, and it's not what waist, like your pant waist size. Actually measure around your belly. Get some tape, make sure it's under 52. Just because you can wear 42-inch waist doesn't mean you don't have a 52-inch belly. Just speaking from experience. Probably one of the more hidden Batman rides I can think of. usually you can see the whole layout, but I kind of like, if you don't know, it's pretty hidden. And here is the Dark Knight coaster, not Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind with the big building, but this is indoor mouse coaster. It's got theming, obviously themed to the Dark Knight. These came out shortly after those movies, like, what was that, about 15 years ago, the Christopher Nolan ones. So it's a different Batman than the other Batman rides, but not a huge fan of this one. You know, being tall, I don't really care for most mouse coasters. I've done it, I think once, I'm good. And everywhere on this side of the park, you can see Nitro. You really get an idea just how massive that thing is. It's not Kingda Ka on the other side of the park, which is almost twice the size of it, but it is still a legitimate roller coaster. One of the things some of the Six Flags have been doing lately, they add in these DC areas with, they have a dark ride for the Justice League, and then they also added this Wonder Woman Lasso of Truth Frisbee ride. This looks like a pretty big one. This park does have a lot of flat rides, and they actually operate them, so it helps because it's a huge park. It gets very busy. I wanted to get here early because it's a Sunday. I'm expecting crowds, and sometimes operations aren't the best, but so far it's been pretty good outside of Jersey Devil not running, but Nitro was pumping trains through, Batman was too, so they're not running like one train or anything, so, and actually the operation's been good. And back past the station, you can see a little more of the ride. This one runs way back in the forest. This park has a ton of land, and they use it. Coming back, the second half of the ride after the turnaround, as with most B&M Hypers, is just a lot of airtime hills like this. Nitro is a great ride. I mean, I give it a lot of grief, I guess, because I don't hold it in the same regard as a lot of people from this area, but it is a really good ride. This is Skull Mountain. It's an indoor roller coaster. More theming than you'd expect. I actually remember, I'm so old, but I remember when they announced this ride back in the 90s. I used to read Rec.Roller Coaster, the news group, like pre-web. Oh man, I'm dating myself, but when this was announced, I mean, it was basically sold to people like, hey, we're gonna be like, this is like Space Mountain, we're going Disney level theming. I wouldn't quite say they did that, and I don't think people really appreciated being lied to. But as years have gone on, people forgot about that, and it's actually just a really fun family coaster, so make sure you check it out. It's actually one of the crazier drops on a smaller ride. Sit in the back row. A rarity these days, but Great Adventures does still have a Skyway with the bucket cars. I think I'm gonna walk across just because the line is a little long. I might try to take it back, but the park's so big, it is a nice thing to have. But I think I'm gonna head over towards like El Toro area. I need to get the stand-up as well, so we'll have to check that out. And I did get excited the other day. I saw Busch Gardens Tampa was hinting that their Skyway might open. I think it's been closed like 4 or 5 years, and they never took it down, and it is one of the better ones, so I hope it opens up. I'd love to go back on it. And if you followed this channel for any amount of time, you know I hate these. This one has been kind of a pain in my rear end over the years because they have a height limit. And it just depends on the day what the height limit is at different Six Flags, because today I was under it. So I rode and I will never ride it again. Cha-ching. Goodbye. And like I said, Great Adventure does make an attempt. Actually built this plaza area specifically for Joker. Got some theming. Actually does look nice back here. They usually just kind of slam them in wherever they have room, but it seems like they actually dedicated some space to this. One of the cooler things about this park is they actually have this beautiful lake that you walk by in different areas. It's a very nice like forest area, and it looks like they do a nighttime show over here now. Looks like they launched some fireworks out there from the lake. They just do a few extra little things a lot of the Six Flags don't. It's just this very quiet and not very not used by many people. This walkway takes you across the park. I'm gonna go back to El Toro, see if it's running. I gotta get on the bull. And there's the first look from inside the park at Kingda Ka. An absolutely massive ride. Just like Top Thrill Dragster for the most part, except this has over the shoulder restraints, and I've heard is incredibly rough these days. It was pretty rough a few years ago when I last rode it. I'm probably not gonna do it. Just because I've heard such horror stories the last couple years. So yeah, I guess we'll see. And here's the legendary El Toro. It's been having a few issues this morning, but I got very lucky. They just cleared the station. The ride was on the lift hill, and they reopened it right as I got over here. It broke down again right when I was next, and they said it'd be a while, but a few of us didn't believe them, and it opened about 5 minutes later. So I got 2 rides back to back. It's still amazing. I don't consider it the best wooden coaster in the world like I used to. It is a little rougher. I still don't think it's that rough, especially considering how tall and fast and crazy this thing is for a wooden ride. It could use a little love, but I mean, yeah, compared to when it was glass smooth back in the day, yes, it is not that ride anymore, but it is still insane. Ejector airtime all over the place. I did a back row and a second row. And like I said, I did not think it was that rough, like at all. I mean, there's a little, although I guess I did sit in a middle seat both times. I didn't sit in the very back, so I don't know if that helped to not sit on the axle. You hear the people around you complaining, but I also tend to think GP complain a lot about things that aren't that rough. Still a great ride. And also, if you did not know, El Toro is Spanish for the Toro. One of the greatest layouts ever created. See Kingda Ka off to the side. I've not seen Kingda Ka run today. The drop tower built on the side of it has been running, but I've not seen Kingda Ka running, which gives me an out to not actually ride it. And a cartoon started right in the middle of that and blasted a theme song, so I had to stop. It's probably a copyright. But that first drop's incredible.
This is the last one.
The first
What's that?
2 hills are pure airtime. I mean, everything on this thing is all about airtime.
You'll find the next scene of my crime on the face where
When you hear the ride go over these first 2 hills, you'll hear like a scraping noise. And that, it used to be actually like louder, but what that is the upstop wheels on the bottom of the track for the train. They prevent you from like flying off the top because it hugs under the track. That noise is actually the upstop wheels scraping against the track so hard because the ejector airtime is so forceful. I mean, you would just launch off into space without those upstop wheels. That may not be accurate. I'm not much for physics, but I think it's pretty close to accurate.
I'll get you down. I don't even know you.
What's that noise? Oh, that sounds familiar. And you come back, you hit a few hills, and then there's this turnaround. This little hill here is absolutely insane. It doesn't look like much, but it tries to launch you into the stratosphere. And there's like a spaghetti helix ending, a bunch of different, well, it's like a figure eight. I think you can get shots of it. Oh, there goes the drop tower. Oh. I think that horn usually means Kingda Ka. Getting the first test run of the day? Yep, there it goes. Oh, that was weird timing. I was just trying to show more El Toro. And just more of the... It is a really pretty park. I mean, it's so huge too. I mean, and it's pretty dead today for a Sunday in August. Got very lucky. Crowds are definitely not here. From the top of El Toro, the parking lot was not even close to a quarter full from the looks of it. So getting a lot of rides in. Hoping Jersey Devil is up and running again when I get back over there. It looks like the Sky Ride shut down. Not sure if that's a wind thing or what. There's a reason this thing was #1 in the world for quite a while. A little work, it could get back there. This thing just goes and goes and goes. It's a big ride. This is another ride for you bigger riders. It's one of the absolute most nightmarish restraints for people. It's very difficult to get in. This is actually the first time I've ever been here and didn't need like a lot of pushing and shoving from other people to get on. And it's still like, I mean, the airtime's so intense that it can be uncomfortable if you do get on. Just a warning on that. It can be a real thigh crusher. If you have big thighs, be very aware. Nice little stream rolling through the Six Flags with giant roller coasters all around. Got a turtle in here. Yeah, sorry for the rant here, but some morons just threw a bunch of potato chips down there to feed the turtles. Let's not do things like that. And the park's floorless coaster is called, well, today it's Medusa. Tomorrow it might be Bizarro. Tuesday it might be Medusa again. I don't know. I think I've been here 5 or 6 times and it's been Medusa like 3 and Bizarro the other 3. I don't even know. Strange. And Medusa is a pretty standard B&M floorless coaster. I have some loops, some inversions. You're gonna have a Cobra roll. That's out front by the sign. I will say, I've come here since 2012. I have never seen this thing have, I don't even think, a one train wait when I've been here. And they are always running 2 train operations. And they're like actually pretty efficient with it. So I don't know why, but I'm glad they do. And it's definitely worth a walk to the back of the park just for a walk-on ride, especially if the park's busy. Just gets you to do something. In case you're not a huge coaster nerd like I am, when I say floorless, I mean the train sits on top of the track and the train does not have a floor, so your feet dangle. It's not an inverted where it hangs under, but yeah, you have that kind of free flying feeling. Just a little different since your center of gravity is above the track. A little better view of the entrance and the ride going over and through it and around it. Great Adventure actually has one of the better log flumes still around, and it is undergoing a refurbishment for the 50th anniversary next season. Glad they're taking care of these things. And what's an amusement park without a runaway mine train? Great Adventure has their own. Get some shots of it here. Just a sign confirming what I said. I don't want you to think I'm a liar. It really hurt my feelings. More of the log flume at station and the initial lift hill. This takes you out pretty far. Out by the lake, into the woods. I did it the first time I came, back when I could still be convinced to ride water rides occasionally. No one has ever taken a picture or a video of El Toro from this spot. My keen eye for artistic roller coaster video and pictures discovered this. Thank you. And you can see the drop tower. I think it's called Zumanjaro. Going up the side of Kingda Ka right now. This is one of the tallest in the world. I can't remember if it's the tallest anymore. I don't keep up on my free fall tower records. I've been on this near dusk and you could see Philadelphia in the distance. And when you think about that, it's pretty crazy. And like I said, the park is huge. They have a lot to do. They have a couple, 2 or 3 different kid areas. So there's a lot for the kiddos to do. If they're not thrill seekers yet, can break off from the group, bring them here, while some older people maybe go ride some roller coasters, but lots of different options here. One thing I wanted to show too, El Toro has an elevator lift cable. It flies up the lift hill. It always catches people off guard. Like I said, it is a nice park. They have a lot of food options. Like I mentioned earlier, you can tell it's not very busy today. Had a lot of luck with that. Got this little animal walkway you can go through. I'm gonna check it out. Got some seals playing. So they also have a water park and a huge safari that you can drive through. It's actually like 3 parks in one. Let's see what the walk around exhibit looks like. It's always different when I'm here. And then I made a critical mistake. They're sea lions, not seals. I'm so embarrassed.
I had a dream that I like this bitch when we nail him. Still looking at me. Or she's looking at her big blue ball. Now she is.
Got a cheetah hanging out in the shade here. I don't blame the cheetah one bit. It is kind of warm today, but still not Orlando, so I'll take it. And the area as you walk back towards Kingda Ka is kind of jungle themed. Definitely gives you a separation from the rest of the park. Back here by Kingda Ka, you also get, there's a Zumanjaro entrance, and you get to see the last portion of El Toro, the spaghetti bowl as it's referred to. Still an awesome ride, still worth a visit. Not riding that today. So on top of trying to efficiently run a roller coaster and a drop tower at the same time, they have to time it so that the drop tower can only go when the roller coaster is not operating. I mean, so they'll fire off a train, they'll do a drop, and they'll fire off another train. Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, this little drop here is probably the craziest part of the ride in my opinion. You come around this corner and it's like you get dropped off a cliff. And just to get an idea of how short of a ride Kingda Ka is, here it goes. Do a barrel roll on the way up. I think it's like 440 feet tall, I can't remember. Straight down, another barrel roll. And the difference here is it has this airtime hill at the end. The top thrill just goes into a brake run. And that's it, folks. People used to wait like 2-3 hours for that thing. And this nightmare of a ride is named Green Lantern. It is a B&M stand-up. They used to make these giant stand-ups. In the 90s, all the parks wanted these huge stand-ups with a ton of inversions. They were all terrible. They're all rough. They were not built to be this big. and I'd never been on this one, and I just did it, and my God, I wish I hadn't. It's so bad. This is the worst ride in the park. It's one of the worst. Man. I was kind of happy I could ride stand-ups again because it's been over 20 years, but now I'm like, nah, maybe not. Pipeline at SeaWorld Orlando tricked me into thinking they were good because that one is actually really fun. This is awful. And Superman is off to the left. That's a much better ride. B&M Flyer. You can find these at several Six Flags, the exact same ride. And speaking of SeaWorld Orlando, Manta is the same layout. But enough of these. I saw Jersey Devil was running across the park when I was on Green Lantern, so I'm getting over there as fast as I can. I'm not gambling on that, and I don't need to talk about Green Lantern ever again. Cha-ching, moving on. One of the things I really do love about this park, they've left some of the old school charm from when they built it in the 70s. This has actually been modernized a bit, but they left it look like the old Midway. I love that stuff. Good job, Six Flags. The Yum Yum Cafe. I love this old building. I don't think they're gonna change it, and they shouldn't. And Katy Perry is screaming, well, roaring in the background. If you're ever at the park and you get the chance to ride Houdini's Great Escape, make sure you do. It is pretty rare to find one of these working these days. They never even made that many of them, especially in the US. I know Efteling had one a few years ago when I was there. This one is still operating, so that's great. The Jersey Devil did eventually open, as I mentioned. And as with any RMC, it has the loudest lift hill you'll ever hear. I waited about, I would guess, 45 minutes. It was fun. Pretty much what I've been told by others. I do prefer the smaller model. This was fun, but a little rougher than I would expect. Kind of rattly. But I mean, nice air time, but with those restraints, you're not really going to get much. You just kind of get slammed up into them with your shoulders. All in all, fun ride, but yeah, probably not what I wanted it to be. I built it up a little more in my head the last few years. Luckily, some friends told me don't have super high expectations, but a nice addition to the park nonetheless. As you can see here, the train sits like over the track, so it's single seats. If you can see, the front of the train is actually a devil, and it looks like his mouth is eating the rail as it goes through. Good idea for a ride. Maybe not the best execution, but you're gonna see a lot more of these. I like that. Got the bucket pouring the red paint out. I may have accidentally ridden this. Don't ask how I accidentally did, but yeah. Don't judge, it was an accident. All right, giant fans of fun, that's gonna do it for today from Six Flags Great Adventure. I had a really fun time today. A lot of fantastic roller coasters at this park. El Toro still running really, really well. It's not what it once was, but it was the greatest ride on the planet for a while, and it's not that anymore. It is still worthy of high praise and worth coming out. It's still the best ride in the park. I did finally get on Jersey Devil after it opened. Like I said, kind of a letdown, still really fun, but not what I wanted it to be. And then just did a lot of other things. So luckily, pretty light crowds for a Sunday. I was here about almost 6 hours because Jersey Devil took a little longer than I would have liked, but oh well. Glad I waited around and still got on it. Now, time to head off to the next destination. Hope you're following along and enjoying the trip so far. There'll be a lot more coming. Thanks for watching. We're gonna have a lot more giant fun. We'll see you next time.
Great Scott!